the AM/FM 24/7 radio network, broadcasting from AM and FM stations around the country. Welcome to the Small Business Administration award-winning School for Startups Radio, where we talk all things small business and entrepreneurship. Now, here is your host, the guy that believes anyone can be a successful entrepreneur, because entrepreneurship is not about creativity, risk, or passion, Jim Beach.
I'm going to make it a great show. First up, we have Dr. Jim Schleckser. He is the founder of the Lazy CEO Project. Boy, is he interesting and impressive. Has done so many cool things. I'm excited to share this with you. We have a great conversation about the theory of constraints. Very interesting idea as we talk about mental control and controlling what we think about and how we position ourselves to ourselves. We are back, and again, thank you so much for being with us on this wonderful Wednesday. Remember, it's a choice. You're going to make it that way. Very excited to introduce my first guest. This is quite an honor. Please welcome Jim Schleckser to the show. He is a very accomplished leader, entrepreneur, and CEO. He is the founder of the CEO Project. It is an executive coaching program for high revenue entrepreneurs. He is known, though, for being really lazy. No, wait. That's what he espouses. He espouses the concept of the lazy CEO and believes that you should be able to actually have a life as well. He has quite a life outside of his business. He is also the host of the Lazy CEO podcast and author of 2 books, one on professional drinking. He is a level 2 sommelier and just recently climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. My goodness. Jim, welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for the introduction. I feel like I have to live up to it now. My gosh.
I offer an add-on bonus package where every time you come into a room, I announce that. And for the bedroom at night, I add world-renowned lover.
Oh, like that. If we have some background music, I think we're done.
Yeah. We can go
waka,
70s
waka.
porn, whatever you want.
Yeah. Perfect. Sign me up.
All right. Lazy as in 4 hours a week lazy. Define lazy for me.
Yeah, well, look, the CEO job is unfortunately not a 4-hour week. All credit to Tim Ferriss. But, if you could get the job done in 40 or 50, 55, you're doing a pretty good job, because a lot of CEOs are working 70, 80 hours a week and not getting the results they want. And it's because they don't understand how to allocate their time effectively and efficiently in the business. And that's really what the whole book of The Lazy CEO, that's what it's about.
Do you like Dwight Eisenhower then? Was he a great president? They said he was playing too much golf, but everything seemed to get done using sort of a military, you go do this and you go do that.
Coming out of the military, I think they got a lot of leadership, great stuff, but that may not have been the best president ever. But yeah, there's no doubt he did a good job, and he was definitely efficient in the use of his time, for sure.
Yeah, we can agree on that.
Yeah.
All right. So do I get lazy at the beginning if I'm just starting? Should I stop at 45, 47 hours, or should I keep going? Which in the long run is going to win me better here, the tortoise or the tear?
Yeah, the key here is a concept called theory of constraints. And in any system you can name, it's sort of what they call a general systems theory, there is a point of constraint that controls how effective that system is. The simple example is a garden hose. So we're all been out watering the garden and we get a kink in the hose, and the water no longer flows out of the hose. And the only way to get the water to flow out of the hose is to go find the kink and open it up. Well, it turns out that that's exactly true in any system, including your business. Your business is a system. So somewhere in your business, there is a point of constraint, a kink in the hose, that prevents you from getting the revenue you want or the profit you want or serving the number of clients you'd like to serve or whatever your objective is. And the job of the CEO is to find that kink and open it up. And the really good CEOs basically spend most of their time doing that, sort of 30, 40% of their time finding the kink and opening it up. The bad ones do what we call peanut butter their time, sort of spread it all over the business, trying to placate or satisfy all their interest groups. And all that does is ensures they're never going to get an interesting result, and they're going to work 80 hours a week. So the good ones focus on point of constraint. The more average ones peanut butter their time.
I was wondering why your LinkedIn page had a garden hose on it.
Now it makes sense.
Garden hose.
Right?
Yes.
See, when you know, you know.
Yes. Very good. I like that. All right. I love that idea, the theory of constraints. And I guess that applies to all parts of my life, right?
Actually, it does. Exactly right. A relationship with friends, family, working out, name it. You could actually apply it broadly to your life. I only applied it to a business, but any system has a point of constraint that stops you from getting the outcome you want. You find the constraint, you open it up, you get a better outcome. Just as simple as that.
All right. Interesting. And would it be fair to say that these are the plateaus in the graph of your revenue, or the bumps in the road? I remember the first business I ever started, Jim, we could go in there for a while, and all of a sudden we got stuck, and we realized that it was a marketing issue, and we were stuck there. And about 2 or 3 years later, we hit our head on some operational issues. Is that also, are those the same things?
You just perfectly described how points of constraint come into the business, what your growth curve is going to look like when they show up. And it's exactly that. When we went to business school, they showed us these growth curves are like these scalloped business curve. You got to go up for a while, you get flat. Then you go up for a while and you get flat. But what they didn't tell you is exactly what you figured out. That's when the point of constraint is coming into play. And you don't get to grow again unless you crack the point of constraint, which you obviously did. You did it in marketing. And then usually sometimes it'll go to, well, now we got so many darn orders, it's now become a production or an operations problem. And all you did is you moved the point of constraint elsewhere in the business, and now you've got to solve that one. So yes, that you perfectly described the concept, exactly what was happening there.
And how do we get past, is there a universal way to get past that, or do we have to read the book?
Yeah.
Well, how do we get past those things?
Well, if I tell you, then you won't have to buy the book. So I'm not telling you. No, I'm kidding. No. The constraint lies in one of 3 areas, really only 3 areas. One is the business model. So what we do for whom, the margin we make, how much capital intensity we have, the amount of recurring revenue we have, the quality of our offer to our clients, all those things are in the business model. It's the design of the business. We call that the architect hat as a CEO. You should be wearing the architect hat to design your business. The second is talent. You don't have the right talent around the business. They're not able or not willing to get done what needs to be done. And for example, we're dealing with a company now that they'd grown to $150 million, done really well, but the talent that got them to 150 million wasn't going to get them to 500 million, which is their goal. So they're now replacing a number of the senior leaders to higher capability people that are now going to be able to drive them to $500 million.
Almost always the CEO, one of the people that need to be replaced right there in that little scenario?
Well, this depends. By the way, that's the coach hat when you're working with talent. Sometimes, and the issue is, can the CEO elevate their capability? Can they keep growing at the rate or faster than the business is growing? If you're growing slower than the business, you can become the point of constraint as a CEO. If you grow faster than the business, meaning your learning rate is high, you're exploring new things, you're constantly challenging yourself, you can stay out of the way of the business for a very long time. Look at Bill Gates. He went a very, very long time before he stepped out as CEO. He went from zero to some billions of dollars before he brought in Ballmer. So it's rare, but most of the time a CEO will say, hey, I don't enjoy, which is really code for I'm not very good at a business at this scale. It's either time for me to sell it or time to bring in a professional CEO who likes doing something at this scale. So yeah, sometimes The CEO is the talent problem, and they have to be replaced. Absolutely right. But that's all about growth rate. Faster you grow, the longer you get to be CEO. The slower you grow, there's a fuse on that one. At some point, you're gonna have to move out.
And we've seen Zuckerberg have some interesting, maybe inflection points. What grade would you give Zuckerberg and how he's grown?
He's gone a very, very long way. I mean, he started in his dorm room and, he brought it to billions and billions and billions of dollars. Should he still be the CEO now? It's probably open for some debate. I mean, he may not even want to do it. There's skill and will. He may go, I've got enough money. I don't really need to do this anymore. Maybe somebody else should do it. And that would be an okay decision. Lots of people have made that decision. Even Jobs brought in Scully. Didn't work out quite the way he wanted to, but it's an okay decision to bring somebody in. But you do have to be careful to replace a founder entrepreneur because they are special people. They are not normal. So it's hard to bring a normal person in to replace them.
I think Zuckerberg is running for a Bond villain right now, especially with that house he's building in Hawaii. Have you heard about that house?
I have. Yes, it absolutely. He could well be a Bond villain. That would be very. He needs a couple of people hanging around him, and he could be there like an evil henchman, and he'd be perfect.
Yeah. I don't know. I've seen some drawings of that house, and it looks pretty scary. So
that's funny. The third area, though, is processes, sort of how we do what we do. It's not keeping up with our revenue. We're making mistakes. Quality's falling off. We're not on time to our clients. And that means you've got a methodology change that hasn't grown with the business. This is what we call the engineer hat. So that's the third place it can be. So, that point of constraint that we talked about, it's either the architecture, the design of the business, the talent, or the methods we're using. And I imagine, you're now thinking about the marketing problem you had and that operations problem, and it probably fell into one of those three buckets or two different buckets.
In your book, though, you have the 5 different hats, right? Learner, architect, coach, engineer, player.
Yes, absolutely. So the 3 hats I just talked about, the architect, the coach, and the engineer, are about fixing the point of constraint. But how do we find the point of constraint? This really comes first, but we're talking about it second. And that's player and learner, or player and analyst. So entrepreneurs love to go into player mode. And this means I'm going in and doing the process. I'm getting involved in it. But I'm not really trying to get the sale or whatever. What I'm trying to do is figure out what's really going wrong here. Like, for example, if you were running a call center and I said, look, go work in the call center for 4 hours, I guarantee you that a CEO would come out of that 4 hours and go, I've got 27 ideas about how to make this better, because they would have experienced it. They went into player mode, but they're going, are we focused on the right customers? Is the script right? Is our pricing right? Do we have the right people leading this operation? Is the right technology here? All those questions they would be looking at while they're doing the job. Like famously, Jack Welch used to go help sell jet engines and stuff. But he wasn't, he wanted the sale, but that's not why he did it. He did it because he wanted to understand, is it priced right? Are the right people calling on the account? Should we change how we approach these clients? So forth. So that's one. The other is analyst or learner, which is analyzing KPIs, analyzing the business, going out to trade shows, joining a CEO peer group, trying to learn things that I don't know that may influence that point of constraint or help me find that point of constraint. So learner and player are about finding the point of constraint, and architect, coach, and engineer are about fixing the point of constraint.
And isn't your CEO project very close to what you just described, though? Maybe instead of a vertical, a more horizontal approach?
Well, yeah, we provide sort of an infrastructure around a CEO in the form of a CEO advisor and a CEO peer group of like size, like complexity companies. And that gives a CEO a safe space, if you will, to learn and ask questions and frankly become a better CEO. It goes back to that comment you made of like, can the CEO be the point of constraint in the business? Yeah. And one of the ways we try to prevent that is by joining a CEO peer group with the right size companies that can challenge you and push you to that next level. And modeling other really high performance CEOs is a great way to learn as a CEO.
And do you yell at the CEOs and rebuke the ones that aren't lazy enough?
We do paddles. We paddle them. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right out of the fraternity house.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. May I have another? Yeah, it's exactly what we do. You got it. It's a very effective technique, I might add.
Do you know what actor actually said that line?
I do. Kevin Bacon. So Animal House is a great movie to know if you're doing 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yes.
Most people don't remember that he was in that movie, but he was. Yes.
Yes. All right. Absolutely fascinating. What size businesses are in the CEO group? You made a size reference. What size do you deal with?
So there are a lot of peer groups that work on smaller companies, like below 20 million. We really only get interested above $25 million of revenue. And the reason why is that's when you really become a full-blown CEO, meaning you're not CEO and VP of sales or VP of engineering or CFO. You're just the CEO. And actually, a lot of entrepreneurs have a bit of a crisis at that moment because they go, I got how I added value when I was selling or engineering or doing the finances, but I'm not doing that anymore. So how do I add value in the business? And that's where the 5 hats come in. If you're working on one of the 5 hats, you're adding value to the business. The largest companies we happen to work with are 2.5 billion. So this is really not size dependent, except you are doing just the CEO job and not really a couple of jobs. Also relative to industry, funny enough, the idea is here are relevant to almost any industry you can name. So we're pretty agnostic as to what industry a CEO might be in. And the joke goes, look, you've got 500 people around you that know lots about construction. What you really need to know about is how to be a better CEO. And that's what these groups do. They focus on the CEO job specifically.
Why climb a mountain?
Isn't that the eternal question? Because it's there. No, I think in life, people think about, stuff, right? But I'm kind of past stuff, and I think about experiences. And so what are you going to spend your money on? And for me, the answer is cool experiences. And that was an irreplaceable cool experience. Climbing a giant mountain like that, it was really hard. I did it with a bunch of great friends, and felt accomplished and did something really cool and had an amazing kind of lifetime experience because of it. So for me, that's the reason. It's the experience, not because it's there.
All right. How do we find out more? Follow online, get some of the books.
If you want to find out more about the CEO Project, you go to theceoproject.com, and you can read all about it. If you want to talk to us, you can fill out the form we have there. And of course, we're on all social media, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, name it. So any of those, we will happily chat with you.
Fantastic. Jim, thank you so very much. Great stuff. Love the conversation and appreciate you being with us. Thank you so much.
Thanks for the time. It was great.